my dad said, I think you're going to win before this. He said, I think you're going to win, not because you're great, but because God is going to try to show, teach, somebody a lesson. And he taught me a lesson for sure. It's not me, because if I had played it perfectly, I probably would have said, that was all me. Right. But if I knew there was a memory slip that I made, that I knew it was God.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Passages Podcast. We are lucky enough today to have our good friend Elijah Luzginov with us. Elijah is a 19-year-old protege violinist.
Please.
Yeah, sorry, had to do it to you. But he has performed in some of the most amazing places, had some of the greatest, most successful mentors. We're going to get to hear a lot more about that from him. But Elijah, thanks for being here with us, man.
Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here. So
absolutely. We want to get to know a little bit more about you, about your story, how you got into playing the violin, and kind of where that's led you to this point. Now, Elijah's only 19, and he's already had all these crazy experiences. So I'm excited to get to hear from you, man.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. I grew up in Florida, so born in Moscow, Russia, originally moved over to Florida as a kid.
How old were you?
Like about 2.
Okay.
So most of my life in Florida.
Yeah.
Where in Florida?
Around Tampa area. So
okay.
Little small town called Northport.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, I grew up in a family of 7, 5 kids, 2 parents, and all of the kids play violin. Some of us play piano. How we started out, basically, whenever we moved over to Florida, my parents, who were missionaries before, they had some friends who were musicians in an orchestra.
Oh, wow.
And so they decided they'd love to have their kids play. And I remember the day, actually, I don't know how I remember it, but I was about 4 years old. But I remember when we were driving to get lessons from this older grandpa, and my mom asked me, what do you want to play? And at that point, I was like, the drums. And she's like, you're not going to play the drums.
And how old were you at this point? Sorry.
Around 4 years old, so 4.5. So I don't know why I remember this, but I remember us driving in the car.
Yeah.
And I remember wanting to play the drums, probably because I saw some older guys in the church playing the drums or something. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did your mom just not want all that noise in the house? All the banging?
Convenience purposes, probably.
My 1-year-old likes to play the drums. He just bangs, it's just fun.
Yeah, it is.
He already gets it,
So she decided, my parents both decided, no, they would like us all to play violins.
Okay.
So, so that's how I kind of started out. They just gave me a violin, and I started going to these lessons. And from 4 years old and on, we switched teachers after that. And God really, we saw God through it, because my parents were looking for a teacher at that moment. And they found a listing on Craigslist for a Russian teacher who was from the conservatory, Moscow Conservatory. So up there. And she was in Sarasota, about an hour drive, and she was giving a free lesson. And so they're like, okay, well, let's see what it is. So we come there, and obviously she sells my parents on saying, I've never seen more talented kids before. She says that to everyone.
Was at 4 years old?
Around 4. Yeah. So
she was right though.
So so she gets a bunch of kids. So 3 of us start out first. My eldest sister. And my twin sister.
So where are you? Sorry, where are you in the order of all the kids in your family?
I'm third. So I have an eldest sister, Evita. She's married off, and an older twin sister.
Okay.
Again, all of us play violin, and so we start going to this Russian teacher because she told us that we were some amazing violinists. Anyways, so for the next 5 years, we were with her, and she was. Russian teachers kind of get a bad break because they are known as the most harsh and just grueling type of teachers. And we cried all the time. Basically, like for the next 5 years, I mean, I'd remember we'd go to school, we'd drive an hour to school, and then after that, we'd go to the violin lesson. And like clockwork, your head would start spinning and hurting after school because you knew you were going to go to the violin lesson.
Hour drive.
So hour drive, and then some other 30-minute drive to the violin lesson. And if we didn't have school, we'd have an hour drive, and we'd do that twice a week. Gotcha. And it'd also be, there'd be 4 kids playing violin at that time. Right. So you're not coming there just for one lesson and you're out. You're coming there for the whole evening. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like the first 5 years, I just remember we were just completely immersed in that. Yeah. And a lot of, you don't really love to play at that point because it just doesn't sound good. Yeah. And it just feels like a chore. Yeah. And that's where I think I appreciate my parents for sticking with it. Yeah. Not only just having one child playing, but imagine having 4 kids at that time playing in your house, practicing all the time. I mean, it was
And would you guys all be getting the same lessons together? Even though you guys were different ages and maybe different stages and levels, would you guys all go in and get the same lesson together?
So it's usually everybody has their own hour. So it'd be like, I'd go in for an hour, then my sister. And so that's why it would be like a whole evening thing. Mm-hmm. But we'd all have different concertos that we'd be playing, etudes. So that kept it more interesting. We didn't have to listen to the same music all the time. Mm-hmm. But so that was basically the first 5 years. And after kind of this one moment where we realized that we need a new teacher for the next moment. So this teacher was very technical, and so she gave us some, I'm super grateful for her for giving us, first of all, she kept us, she kept us in her hand, and she wouldn't let us just be disorganized. She'd always keep us really just in it. And we found another teacher who was playing at one of the Philharmonics in Sarasota, and she was really great. And we just did online with her for a little bit, and then she started coming over. And so from every teacher that I would have for the next 5 years, I would be learning a different side of the violin, so a new aspect. So first teacher, I would learn more bass level skills, notes, rhythms, all that stuff. Next teacher, one that reminds me actually, the friends that my parents had back in Moscow that kind of gave us the whole start of maybe having us play violin, the guy actually became one of my teachers later on. Oh, okay. And he was a Christian. And I remember when I would get on a lesson with him over Zoom, he would just speak about music in such a different way than all the other teachers. It was like a source of love for him. It was such a passion to create it, and not just for himself. It was like, I'm praising the Almighty God with this. And just seeing that passion in him, I just got a piece of that from him. And I spent probably a year with him, just kind of soaking in that. It was just it was not the harshness. Right. It was more of the kind of lovey-dovey type of attitude to the music side. And the emotional, romantic. Yeah.
So you went more from the technical, right? Like almost thinking logically about it, hitting everything, to more of the emotional side of
Exactly.
Were all your teachers Russian, or just the first one?
So the first one was Russian. This guy that I was talking about, Andre, he was also Russian. And so they have a really great school, conservatory, and they're kind of famous for having really strong musicians in Russia.
Cool. Do you speak Russian?
Yes. Okay. So cool. I speak it fluently. And so after that, I started working with another violinist teacher. And throughout this whole process, so after my first teacher, I started kind of finding new ways where I could play and kind of more outlets. And so one of them was the Sarasota Youth Orchestra. Okay. And that was a very pivotal place for me, where I was able to grow, not because of just being in a solitude state where I'm playing by myself. Right. It was, you're playing in an orchestra you're kind of competing with everybody else if you want to get to the top.
Okay.
And there was a lot of competition, friendly competition,
Right.
and everybody's kind of your age, but you want to be the best, and you're
Yeah.
always trying to. So that was really good for me, and some of the greatest mentors I found there, just showing excellence, just always trying to work it to the best possible way. And that orchestra actually gave me kind of just so much learning came out from that.
It turned it into kind of a team sport
Yeah,
type of thing.
exactly.
Where, because even on your team, you're still competing to start or to
Yeah.
be the first guy, but also you're competing for the same common goal.
Right.
You want your performance to, bless the people who are listening, and
Right.
you want to put out the best product. So you went from those first 5 years, from being like 4 to 9 or 10. Of just doing solo training essentially,
Right.
and then you joined this, and then you started understanding the dynamics of
Yeah.
being in a group and
Right.
and performing as a team and all.
As a team, yeah, being a team sport, playing with everybody, finding out how music blends, all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just such an essential learning
Yeah.
curve that I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that they provided.
So how long did you do that? What was that?
That
what
was
did
10
say?
years actually.
Oh,
So
wow.
from
So up till pretty recently.
yeah,
then.
so
Okay.
last year was my final year,
Oh wow.
and they were just that's why I'm talking about it as an essential piece for my development. It was
Yeah.
genuinely like I learned so much.
Do you feel like you stood out from a lot of the people in that group, or are all of the kids in that program kind of like at your level?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I felt that all of those people, they were all driven, and I really loved that surrounding.
Yeah.
They were all driven. A lot of them were not interested in solo careers or even in music careers, but most of them brilliant, like engineers,
Yeah.
biochemics, like just
Wow.
brilliant people, all going to big schools and all that stuff. And so being around that really just set the bar higher
Yeah.
for me. And then when there were some violinists that were just exceptional. I mean, one of them comes to mind, and she was just really, really good at practicing consistently,
Yeah.
4 hours a day, and you cannot get. I would just get so inspired by just
Yeah.
coming to practice and just seeing her consistently be great at everything. And so then you come home and you have to practice because if you're sitting with her, then she's gonna be
Yeah.
she's gonna be like making fun of you or something.
So that brings up a question. You said sitting with her.
Right.
You shared a stand
Yeah.
with that person. Does that mean you two are in a similar place? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so that's kind of a person that you're working closely.
Yeah, because there's also a hierarchy
Yeah.
to it, right? Like you can be first violin or first chair. I don't know how they say it.
Yeah, so first chair will be basically like not the king, but like kind of he's the leader or she's the leader of the whole string section in a sense. There's
And it's the
first
composer
violins.
that like dedicates that person as first chair.
Usually the orchestra. So it's kind of a joint venture for us. In that youth orchestra, there was management, and you do auditions for that. So it was actually like, not that it was a big thing in a youth orchestra, but for me as a kid, I always looked at that chair and like whoever was sitting in there, it's just like, wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And God was gracious enough for me to one time, be able to get into that position. And I think I was like 14 at the time. And I thought that was the destination. I thought, if I'm there, I'm like done. And I remember somehow I got in. I asked, one of the managers. I was like, I'm just going to practice, every single day, just until I get there. And then I played a really good solo or something like that. And they're like, you know what? I think you earned it. And so I get it. And then I kind of stopped practicing because I was like, I thought that was the destination.
Oh yeah.
And it taught me a massive lesson. Why? Because after that, I stopped practicing and then not stopped practicing their material. I was still practicing my stuff, but I just wasn't in it as much.
Yeah.
And they demoted me. And I was like, wow, I went back to second chair, which is still a good spot, but it's not first chair.
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting there. I remember being stunned and just coming in there and just feeling like, wow, I learned a lesson
Yeah.
that it's not a destination this is when the journey actually begins.
Yeah.
And this is where you actually start learning the leadership qualities and come in there on, before the time of the start of the rehearsal, come in and being prepared, having all the bowings and everything prepared so that you can kind of show it to the rest of the group and being, just going the extra mile for everything.
Right.
And so after this, there was kind of an opportunity where there was a solo competition that everybody was kind of trying to audition for, and it was a once a year thing. So it was kind of a big thing. And anyways, there were multiple violinists there that stood out because I hadn't practiced for this competition. I didn't think of even joining. And the one girl that I was talking about, she'd been practicing for about 6 months before, and she tells me, maybe you should try doing it. I'm like, oh, well, I haven't practiced or anything. So I start practicing for it, and then I realize, wait a minute, then I get demoted, and I'm like, wait a minute, the only way I can get back in this chair if I can actually, win this competition, and then do super well on everything else. That's the only Hail Mary shot that I get at getting back into that seat. And so for the next 2 months, I just went crazy, just practicing. So I'd have college. This was about 2-3 years ago, but I'd have college classes in the morning, and then after that, I'd go practicing from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And then I'd go to bed, wake up, my college classes, and then again. And it was just every day like that, just practicing until I could get bloody fingers. But I just had this, I had this drive to get back into that seat. Yeah. And there was a whole nother things. Somebody told me, oh, there's no way you'd win. There's
so you're trying to prove them wrong?
Kind of, in a sense. It's probably not the greatest motivation. But at that point, it kind of worked. And so anyways, I practiced. And I remember my dad's sitting there, and he says, this is not about you. God is trying to teach you something, and he might be teaching somebody else a lesson as well. And one of the people that I was talking to that was trying to compete as well, they're like, all it is just practice. If I just practice enough, I'm going to get it. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but where's God in this? Is God providing that blessing? Is God, where's God in that equation? Right. And anyways, the day of the concert or the competition comes, and I play everything, and I think I was just a few mistakes in the 16-minute long piece, but I practiced just every single day, almost every night. My brother's sleeping in the same room as me, so he'd be listening to all the scales every single night, till 2 a.m., just putting in earplugs or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to your brother.
Facts. Anyways, those 2 months were insane, but then competition comes, and I get to win it, first place. And
was this your first real competition?
That was my first real competition. And my dad said, I think you're going to win before this. He said, I think you're going to win, not because you're great, but because God is going to try to show, teach somebody a lesson. And he taught me a lesson for sure. It's not me, because if I had played it perfectly, I probably would have said, that was all me. Right. But if I knew there was a memory slip that I made, that I knew it was God who really pushed me through and allowed me to first be able to practice that much, lock in for that season. Anyways, it was just God using me as a tool. And
So that when you first chair back?
I got the first chair back a little bit after that. And then after that, I took it super seriously. Yeah. Just, cool. Coming on time and everything, just going above and beyond. So anyways.
And when was this? How long ago was this?
Yeah, this is the last 2 years of the orchestra experience that I had out of the 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay, so pretty recently.
So yeah, pretty recently.
That's cool.
So yeah.
So one major thing about what you have shared with us kind of stood out to me, and I wanted to ask you a question about it. So it's a pretty common thing for kids to take on the passion of their parents.
Sure.
For me and my family, Me, my brother, my dad, and my uncle all played quarterback for the same high school.
No way.
So
That's wild.
So and like when I was young, my dad had me, throwing a football and training to do that, and that was a passion of his that eventually became a passion of mine, something that I cared about and worked hard towards. And now that I'm, in the early stages of being a parent, thinking about what I want my son, what I want him to do. Obviously, I want him to do what he wants to do, but to ignore the fact that your parents have a say or a motivation in it
For sure.
would be kind of silly. Like, they definitely play that part in our lives. We look up to our parents, and they push us to do something. So with that being said, at what point do you think the passion of your parents getting you into violin transition from being a passion of theirs that they wanted in your life to a passion of yours?
That's a good question. I think once it started sounding good, it was just like, wait a minute, there's something there. But in reality, I remember it was about 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
We had just switched to teachers again, and I remember starting to play. At that point, some of the kids that I knew were starting to make money through lawn care or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I got to make some money. So I started playing busking outside. And that was, so it wasn't like because of the love of music or anything. I was just trying to kind of make some type of money. But there I was able to really find a love for it because I started playing not only just classical music, because it was all basically what my teachers would like me to play, that's what I was playing. So it wasn't just my, my favorite piece, I want to play this piece. But here I was playing stuff that I enjoyed and that other people, I could see their feedback as well. I mean, it's kind of like you're on stage just outside and, super casual. But I could see their feedback. Some people would be crying coming up, and I would just really, I'd do more of what worked, and less of what didn't. And I think that's where the real love started to come in, where you start playing and you're just like, whoa, that sounded kind of good. Let me see if I can lean into that. And then you start learning more aspects of the violin. A lot of classical musicians don't know how to improvise or go and just play whatever and play.
Yeah. It sounds like it really became your own. Like you were able to make it your own and not just doing what a teacher told you or whatever, but it was like, okay, now I get to see what people like and how my style can kind of mold to that. That's cool.
Exactly. And so for the next few years, so this is probably from like 12 to 14, 15, I did a lot of busking. So it'd be like there's this city called Naples, and we really there's like a great place that you could stand right in front of the opera house, a lot of people, and during Christmas time, maybe thousands of people, and you're just standing there and playing in front of all these people and just playing these heartfelt songs that just make you want to just cry. And so basically like the whole playlist, you just refine the playlist until it's just the heavy hitters only. And then you just start enjoying it that much more.
So you just stood outside and played, and did you have your case open, accepting tips?
There was a whole system to it. I mean, you have like a a black bucket so that you don't see all the money in it. It was like a whole. We really optimized it. I was thinking from a business perspective, how do I make this? The entrepreneur inside me or something. I did that for a few years, and I realized that as a small kid, you look probably, oh wow, what a cute kid playing outside. I knew this was not going to be a long-standing thing. So I started getting events from there.
Oh, really?
And somebody would want me to play for a wedding or some kind of cool place at their house or something for some birthday party. And from there, I started kind of being able to perform for people at their places. And that went on for a few years. And that was also a massive learning curve for me, where I would just learn what people found beautiful and just what I found really beautiful as well. And I think that's what progressed me in that section as well. Not as a classical musician specifically, but more of just as a musician. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
Do you think at that time when you started getting those smaller gigs, like playing at a wedding, playing at a birthday party, at that moment, did you, in your mind, were you like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? This is the career I want to pursue? Or was it still something that you felt like you were good at, but it was going to end eventually, like maybe when you got to college or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at the time when I was playing outside, I obviously didn't think this was going to be, I'll be 50 years old playing out here. But when I started doing events, so I think it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I started taking social media seriously, I started, going to places. So California, Chicago, abroad for events. That's where I really thought, man, this is a really cool kind of like career path. But I feel that God has given me multiple passions. So music is one of them. Yeah. Business is another one of them. And I feel like building the skill sets that are required for both and maybe merging them together somehow is somewhat in the future for me. Cool. But at that time, with the bigger events that I'd start, I would envision something on stage one day. Yeah. Obviously never envisioned me playing.
It was something you hoped for though.
Yeah, for sure. Playing in an orchestra, you're there every week, right? So you're just kind of dreaming about that soloist debut where you're just standing there and you're just playing something super beautiful in front of an audience. Sure. That's kind of just the dream. Yeah. A dream, but not something that you really think will happen. Cool. So.
All right, my last question before we wrap up this episode, and it ties into the previous one I asked about when your passion for violin became your own. The kind of mirror that I see in this, it kind of goes along with your faith being your parents and your own. I think that's maybe a big criticism of Christianity is that, you're going to be a Christian if your parents are Christians. You're going to play violin if your parents want you to play violin. You're going to play soccer, football, whatever, if your parents did it. So then at what point in all of this would you say that your faith became your own, and how has that kind of mirrored your experience with the violin and your passion for that and making that passion your own?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. Yeah, I think early on, my parents really were able to, I grew up in a Christian household, and they were able to really help us understand that I am a sinner, that I am a good way to see that you're a sinner is by using the 10 Commandments. Just like look at it and just like, okay, have I ever stolen? If you're guilty of one, you're guilty of all. Yeah. And if I'm guilty, then am I going to heaven? Yeah. Am I saved? And so once I realized I was a sinner, I understood I needed a Savior, and Christ did that for me. I realized that I was guilty, and Jesus paid the fine. Yeah. And after, I think it was about 7-8 years old, I realized that I was a sinner and got saved. So early on.
That's awesome.
But as I didn't really see how that played into my entire life as far as like music or business. I didn't see how that would really reflect in that. You obviously say, this is for the glory of God, but but it's like, is it really though?
Right. Yeah. No, exactly.
And I think in the last 2 years, there's kind of been a mental shift where you're realizing, is this for me? Is this for God? What am I living for? Whose dreams are these? Yeah. Are these my dreams, or are these, or is this like God is showing me that, hey, this is what I have laid out for you. And once I think my dad has been a great role model in that, just kind of questioning a lot of my beliefs in
that's cool.
Not just being like, he understands that completely, and I understand. I see a lot of some Christians that grow up in a Christian household, but they're not necessarily bearing fruits, the spiritual fruits. And it is just a belief that their parents had. And my dad would always really just question that side. Are you bearing spiritual fruits? Do you show signs that you are saved? That type of thing. And are you living for yourself, or is this, are you living for God?
And it seems like the story that even you shared of losing first chair and then doing the solo and your dad speaking into it. It seems like that is a cool moment in your life where you're not grouped in with your siblings. You're not grouped in with your parents. It's like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is a lesson that God is showing me, and a way that you grew from it, and learning how to lead in the first chair, and and relying on God, understanding that it's because of Him. That's awesome, man. I think that's a really cool story. And you're still 19, so like there's a lot of that where, you know, you're still like just getting started, which is wild to think about, and to see how much God has taught you and where you've come in your maturity and all that.
Praise the Lord, man, for all the opportunities, and you know, I'm just a tool for Him to use, and so
that's awesome.
He opens all the doors, so I can't even take anything for myself.
That's awesome.
So,
well, thanks for sharing your story and a little bit more of your
Thanks,
perspective.
Elijah.
We're going to continue this conversation and just get to ask Elijah some more fun questions about the music industry and different experiences he's had. So thank you so much for watching this episode, for tuning in, listening, all that good stuff. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all the things that help us out. Again, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.